Get out! My mother-in-law Catherine's harsh voice pierced the air. When my husband was transferred abroad, she kicked me and my daughter out of the house. With no place to go, I ended up at the park, holding my 2-year-old daughter, feeling lost and unsure of what to do next. Suddenly, police officers surrounded us. "Please come with us," they said. Soaked in the rain and shivering from the cold, I followed them to the police station, where I found an unexpected person waiting for me. "I'm Emma, turning 35 this year. I met my husband Bob at work, and after a year of dating, we got married. I quit my job when we tied the knot, and 2 years ago, our daughter Lily was born. Right now, we all live together with my mother-in-law Catherine. We used to rent, but after Catherine's husband passed and her niece started acting up, we decided to buy a new apartment and live together. We thought about getting a house, but with Catherine's knee issues, we figured it'd be smarter to live where it's easy to get around. Buying an apartment was cheaper and had an elevator, which was a big help. Catherine liked the idea too, so we put money down and got a 35-year loan. Bob's job doesn't move us around much since we bought the place, but he still travels for work about once a week. With a 2-year-old, his trips stress me out. At first, Catherine pitched in with childcare, but now she's not much help. She leaves dishes dirty and utensils unwashed, which piles up extra work for me. When I ask her to help, she promises to do better but doesn't follow through. Oddly enough, she cleans up when Bob's around, and I just noticed that recently. At first, I didn't think much of it when Catherine occasionally rinsed the dishes, but now I see things differently. I suspect she's deliberately making things difficult for me, like when she offers to pick up things from the store, and then conveniently mentions afterward that she actually needed something. This happens a lot. I used to think Catherine's knee problems made moving hard for her, so I wanted to help out as much as possible. But now, my eagerness to assist is wearing thin. I considered talking to Bob about it, but he's already stressed from work, and I didn't want to add to his worries. Catherine's behavior started not long after we moved in together, and it's been going on for years. When I mentioned it to a friend, she said, "Sounds like she's bullying you. Why not talk to Bob? He might be able to help." But if I bring it up with Bob, Catherine, who doesn't have any other family, might end up in a care facility. So I thought maybe it's best to just tough it out. However, something happened one day that made me reconsider. That day, I had arranged to drop off Lily at my parents' house. They'd always loved having her over and often suggested I stay the night too. But I always worried about leaving Catherine alone. After a quick chat with my parents, I headed back to our apartment where Catherine was waiting. But when I got there, I realized I had forgotten the keys. At first, I panicked a bit, but then I remembered Catherine was home. I tried buzzing her through the intercom, but there was no answer. I waited outside, thinking she might have gone out, but she didn't return. As it got darker, I decided to follow another resident into the building. I was sure Catherine wouldn't be out so late, but when I buzzed our apartment again, there was still no response. I waited a while longer, but still nothing. Finally, I heard a faint sound from inside, confirming Catherine was home. I kept buzzing the intercom, but she wouldn't answer. Feeling defeated, I booked a room at a nearby motel for the night, planning to sort things out when Bob got back from his trip. I got locked out. I explained to Bob when he asked what happened. He was understandably upset, but Catherine just brushed it off, blaming her hearing and joking about getting old. Relieved to be back inside, I grabbed my keys and went to pick up Lily from my parents' house. They offered their support, saying I could always come back if things got too tough. Their comforting words brought tears to my eyes, but I quickly composed myself before heading home with Lily. For a while, things seemed okay with Catherine. Then, unexpectedly, Bob's international transfer was confirmed. A permanent move, not just a business trip. We just bought a place, and now this international assignment. What should we do? Bob asked me. I hesitated, considering the stress it might bring to Lily, but ultimately decided it was best for us to stay in the U.S. Soon after, Bob had to leave for Europe. Although he was concerned, work kept him occupied, leaving me, Lily, and Catherine to navigate life together. Living with Catherine took a turn for the worse once Bob left for Europe, just as I expected. Her attitude shifted drastically. On a stormy day, when it was unsafe to go outside, Catherine blindsided me with a shocking request. "Now that Bob's away, wouldn't it be best if you and Lily found somewhere else to live?" she said bluntly. "Excuse me? What are you saying?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I'd prefer to have the place to myself. I can't relax with strangers around. So if you could leave as soon as possible, that would be great," she replied, showing no remorse. I was stunned by Catherine's nerve. Despite not being blood-related, I had always treated her like family, doing my best to make our living situation comfortable. But to her, it seemed we were just unwanted guests. As I contemplated packing up and returning to my parents' house, Catherine's next words cut deep. "Why are you still here? Just leave already," she demanded, showing no mercy. Before I knew it, Lily and I were standing outside our own home, dressed only for indoors, as Catherine slammed the door shut behind us. No matter how hard I knocked, she refused to open it. Lost and stranded, I took Lily to a nearby park for shelter from the pouring rain. Without my wallet or phone, which were inside the house, I felt utterly helpless, unsure of our next move. Exhausted and freezing, I tried to keep us warm as we huddled together. With nightfall approaching and the cold setting in, I feared we might fall ill. Desperate for help, I considered the long walk to my parents' house, despite the distance. As I weighed our options, I noticed two faint lights in the distance. Squinting through the rain, I realized they were police officers approaching. Before I could decide what to do, one of them called out to me. "Are you Emma? And is this little one Lily?" the officer asked, catching me off guard with his knowledge of our names. I nodded weakly, confirming our identities. "Please come with us to the station," the officer requested, and I couldn't help but wonder why they were taking us there. Lily and I obediently got into the patrol car, grateful for the large towels the officers provided to shield us from the cold and rain. As we shivered in the backseat, I couldn't shake off my curiosity. "How did you know where to find us?" I asked, hoping for some answers. "We'll explain everything once we're back at the station," they assured me. Exhausted, I soon drifted off to sleep, only to awaken later to find ourselves at the police station. Following the officers inside, I was taken aback to see Catherine and my uncle waiting for us. "Uncle, what are you doing here?" I asked in surprise. "Bob contacted me. He suspected you might be having trouble with his mom, especially since he's overseas," my uncle explained, shedding some light on the situation. "He wanted me to keep an eye on things for him," my uncle explained. Apparently, Bob had discussed this issue with him before, expressing his concern about not being able to be there himself while he was overseas. My uncle had spotted us in the rain earlier that day and had considered taking us in himself. However, he found Catherine's actions extreme, so he decided to report it to the police. That's why the officers knew where to find us and came to our rescue. Catherine had also been summoned to the police station, where she sat glaring at me, seemingly unaware of the reason for her presence. "Why do I have to be here? My knee is acting up, you know. If Bob were here, none of this would be happening," Catherine argued. Little did she know that this entire situation had unfolded because of Bob reaching out to my uncle for help. During discussions with the police, it became evident that the situation might have legal implications. As a result, I was advised to consider hiring an attorney to navigate the complexities ahead. "An attorney? That's an overreaction. I just locked the door, that's all. I didn't do anything else," Catherine protested. "Do you even realize what you've done? You threw Emma and a little child out in torrential rain. That's not something forgivable," my uncle defended us, emphasizing the severity of Catherine's actions and asserting my rightful ownership of the house. "That's impossible. Bob is the head of the household. He's the rightful owner. Now that he's not here, it should be mine," Catherine insisted, misunderstanding the ownership status. In truth, my uncle, who works in real estate, had facilitated a great deal on a condo for us, and Bob had recommended putting it under my name. Following my uncle's guidance, I decided to seek legal advice. The lawyer explained that evicting Catherine would be challenging and suggested considering placement in a care facility. I immediately called Bob to update him on the situation. He hadn't anticipated the severity of the issue and expressed his desire to return from Japan to address it properly, considering placing Catherine in a facility. Unaware of the unfolding developments, Catherine, despite being at the police station, nonchalantly snacked on crackers. Unable to return home with Catherine, I sought refuge at my parents' house until Bob's return. With a week before his arrival, I had time to reflect on our options. If Bob wouldn't support me, then divorce seemed the only option, I lamented, regretting my delay in seeking advice. A week later, Bob returned from Europe, and I moved back home from my parents' place. However, his stay was brief as he needed to go back to Europe soon. With limited time in Japan, we had to discuss our next steps. I heard some things from Emma's uncle. Is all of that true? Bob inquired as soon as we were together. Catherine adamantly denied any wrongdoing, insisting it was all lies and accusing me of plotting against her. Surprisingly, Bob seemed inclined to consider Catherine's perspective. Do you have any evidence to prove Emma's plotting something? Bob asked, seeking clarity. Evidence? Of course not. Emma, do you have any evidence? I admitted I hadn't been able to keep track of things due to my busy work schedule. Uncertain of whom to believe, I handed Bob a voice recorder I had with me. What's this? Bob questioned as I handed it to him. I explained that it contained recordings of Catherine's harsh words and her eviction of me from the house. As Bob listened to the recordings, he heard Catherine's disparaging remarks about me, questioning why he even married me. Catherine quickly began to defend herself upon hearing the playback. This is taken out of context. Everyone has their moments, right? I was just frustrated at that time. But it was just this once. Catherine attempted to downplay her actions, but the voice recorder played a relentless stream of verbal abuse, revealing countless instances of mistreatment, some not even captured on the device. Bob's hand trembled with tension and anger as he held the recorder, while Catherine appeared guilt-ridden. Mom, what is this about? Bob demanded an explanation, but Catherine remained silent. If you won't answer, then I can only assume this is all true. If so, I need to prioritize Emma and Lily's safety. You understand that, right? Bob's anger was palpable, a side of him I had never seen before. Catherine, seemingly realizing the severity of the situation, cowered in fear, unable to respond. In the ensuing discussions before Bob's return to Europe, I made it clear that I could no longer live with Catherine, especially with Lily in the picture. Bob seemed to agree, leaning towards the idea of placing Catherine in a care facility. However, Catherine vehemently opposed the suggestion, complicating matters further. Regardless, I decided to sell the house, so you can't stay here anymore. If you don't want to go to the facility, you'll need to find another place, Bob announced firmly. How dare you decide this on your own? I won't allow you to sell the house. Catherine protested vehemently, but the decision was made. Lily and I had already chosen to move to Europe, as Bob regretted not being more present for his family and was determined to make amends moving forward. Although I had reservations about moving abroad, knowing that Bob would be with us provided some comfort. Plus, I thought it would be beneficial for Lily, who was only 2, to immerse herself in a new environment and practice her communication skills in Europe. Therefore, selling the condo, which still had a mortgage, was the only viable option. Leaving it as it was would burden Catherine with the mortgage payments, which she couldn't afford on her fixed income. Considering her future prospects, it was essential for someone to be available to support her. Despite our best efforts, Catherine refused to move into a care facility voluntarily, so we had no choice but to arrange for her admission forcibly. I'm sorry, but I have to head back to Europe. Could you take care of any necessary procedures here? Bob asked before departing. With assistance from friends and family, I managed to complete the process of admitting Catherine into the facility. The staff there kept me informed about her condition, but it seemed she was struggling. While it would be understandable if she were simply feeling down, she was reportedly making things difficult for the staff and other residents. Before leaving for Europe, I visited Catherine to check on her well-being. However, she lashed out at me, accusing me of imprisoning her in the facility. She also vented her frustrations to the staff, criticizing the food, accommodations, and other residents. Despite apologizing to the staff for her behavior, they reassured me, saying they were accustomed to handling such situations. Despite the challenges and the mistreatment I had endured from Catherine during our time living together, I couldn't help but feel anxious as I embarked on my journey to Europe. Upon arriving in Paris, Bob greeted me at the airport, and we made our way to the apartment we had rented. While they say rents in Paris are steep compared to Texas, Bob's company provides a housing allowance, which allowed us to find a spacious and affordable place. Our neighbors in the building have been incredibly welcoming, despite my limited fluency in French. Just yesterday, one neighbor shared some wine and cheese with me, and in return, I offered them some homemade mac and cheese. In the meantime, I'm gradually picking up French alongside my daughter Lily, recognizing the limitations of self-study. I've also enrolled in a language school, where I've met other Americans new to France and formed some great friendships. Back in the States, my worries about Catherine often overshadowed my enjoyment of outings with friends. But here in Paris, I can savor leisurely lunches and fully embrace the city's charm. My main concern now is Lily, who is still too young for kindergarten. Typically, children here start kindergarten at 5, so I'm hopeful she'll pick up enough French by then. Thankfully, Lily seems to be adapting quickly. As Lily grows older and approaches preschool age, I'm considering re-entering the workforce. While Bob supports me staying at home, living in Paris has sparked a desire for new opportunities. Witnessing the ambition and confidence of people here has inspired me. I've even befriended a waitress at a nearby cafe who hinted at a potential job opportunity there. The cafe is popular among both Americans and locals learning English, presenting a promising avenue for me. Despite the challenges ahead, our move to France has strengthened the bond between Bob and me. I feel more empowered to express my feelings, and I'm confident that we'll face whatever comes our way as a family. Right now, I've never felt happier in my life.